Hello, everybody. So, this is an episode about Chinese culture, the beauty of oneness. When heaven becomes a mirror, why China try to become one with the universe? Modern people love saying things like, the universe is guiding me, I feel aligned, everything happens for a reason. I just want to be one with nature. Very spiritual, healing, and expensive. Somewhere a candle is burning, a yoga mat is crying, and a $38 cup of ceremonial matcha has just achieved enlightenment. But long before modern wellness culture discovered the universe, China had a much older, deeper, and more dangerous version of this dream. It's called Tianren Heyi, the unity of heaven and humanity, or more simply, human beings becoming one with heaven. At first, it sounds beautiful. It says human beings are not isolated machines. We're connected to nature, seasons, mountains, river, to the body, to the ritual, to political order, to morality, to the reason of cosmos. In the modern world where people spend 9 hours staring at the screen, drinking iced coffee as a food group, and co-burnout ambition, this idea feels almost met how do you spell it?
Medicinal.
This idea feels almost medicinal. China look at the human being and say, you're not just an individual, you're part of a larger order. It's a beauty. But if humans become one with heaven, who reminds humans that they're not heaven? The beauty of oneness. To understand Tianren Heyi, we must understand why it's attractive. Because it's not stupid and primitive. It's not just Asian Chinese people like nature. 天人合一 is powerful because it answers a real human wound, the feeling of separation. Modern people separated from almost everything, separate from nature, family, tradition, community, separated from the food they eat, the clothes they wear, the land they live on, sometimes even from their own emotion. The modern self is supposed to be free, but often it's just floating. Free from tradition, from family, from religion, from fixed identity, from everything except the anxiety, rent, and algorithm. So when people hear oneness with universe, they feel relief. Finally, something larger than me. I'm not alone. I belong somewhere. This is why Chinese civilization dreams harmony is so powerful. It says life is not random. The human being is not a lonely autumn. The body has risen. The nature has risen. Family has risen. Heaven and earth have risen. A good life is not invented from nothing. A good life is entered. You enter an order older than yourself. You become cultivated, harmonious. You become less noisy. Honestly, some of us need that. The modern person say, I'm building my personal brand. Chinese heaven say, please become a human being first. What does heaven mean? In English, when people hear heaven, they think of God, clouds, angels, afterlife, maybe Morgan Freeman's voice. But Chinese Tian is not that. Tian can mean sky, can mean nature, cosmic order, moral order, fate, legitimacy, something about human being. It's not always a personal God who speaks, judges, commands, forgives, and reveals. In Christianity, heaven often confronts you. In Chinese thought, heaven surrounds you. It's not always one voice saying you are guilty. Sometimes it's a season change, the mountain standing, river flowing, ruler gaining and or losing mandate, the body needing balance, the family requiring order. The world telling you find your place, don't stand alone, become aligned. It's beautiful, but it also creates a problem. Because if heaven is not a personal God who speaks clearly, judge morally, and stand outside human interpretation, then heaven can become very easy to interpret. And once heaven becomes easy to interpret, human beings start becoming confident, maybe too confident. That's why I call this episode When Heaven Becomes a Mirror. Sometimes when humans say they're looking at heaven, they may actually be looking at themselves, their value, desire, aesthetic taste, fear of chaos, their dream of order. Heaven becomes a mirror. A mirror always looks surprisingly similar. So, Christianity begins with distance. In the Christian imagination, the first truth is not I'm one with God. It's closer to I'm not God. God is creator. Human beings are creatures. The distance matters. It's not just a theology. It protects humility. It says you did not create yourself. You can't save yourself completely. You don't stand above judgment. You're not the highest thing. You're not God. Christianity begins with a gap between creator and creature, between holiness and human weakness, between judgment and mercy, between sin and grace. Chinese Tianren Heyi dreams of harmony. Christianity begins with distance. This is one of the deepest differences between those two spiritual words. One say, become aligned with heaven. The other say, stand before God. One emphasizes resonance, the other emphasizes dependence. One seeks harmony, the other begins with humility. It's not absolute. Christianity has union with God, communion, mystical theology, and language abiding in God. Chinese thought also contains reverence, awe, fear, and self-cultivation, but the civilizational emphasis is different. In Christianity, the human being doesn't absorb God into cosmic harmony. The human being stands before God, and that before is crucial. Because a God who is not you can judge you, a God who is not you can forgive you, who is not you can interrupt you. Human or God who is not you can save you from becoming trapped inside yourself. But if heaven becomes too close, if heaven becomes only the highest version of your own order, civilization, your own aesthetics, your own politics, your own inner feeling, then heaven can't save you from yourself. It can only reflect you beautifully, and that may be the most dangerous mirror in the world. The three question China suspended. We reached the heart of the problem. Tianren Heyi sounds like solve the relationship between heaven and humanity. But it may also raise three final questions. What exactly is heaven? What exactly is death? What stands above human mind? It's not small questions. These are the foundation of spiritual life, but Chinese civilization answered them indirectly, not by defining heaven as personal God, not by making this a central theological scandal, not by placing human reason under an absolute divine revelation. Instead, it often moved towards harmony, towards order, ritual, cultivation. This is not meaningless. It produced real beauty, but it also produces a kind of suspension. Heaven is present, but not always clearly defined. Death is everywhere, but often softened by nature, poetry, and ancestor. Ultimate faith exists, but often becomes mixed into family, ritual, state, morality, and cosmic order. This is why Chinese civilization feels deeply sacred without being theistic in the Western sense. It did not need a church to feel sacred. It doesn't need a one God to produce reverence. It doesn't need doctrine to shape souls. It has seven ancestors, family classics, moralized state. It has mountain, season, poetry, mourning, and order. This is why China is never simply atheist. The word is too crude. China often lacks one supreme personal God, but it's full of sacred pressure. The sacred is everywhere. Nature can comfort this, but can answer it. Let's talk about Chinese aesthetics. Imagine a classical Chinese landscape painting. A tiny human figure walks through enormous mountain. Clouds move slowly, water flows, trees bend, a small boat drifts on a wide river. The human being is most invisible, not because he's worthless, but because he belongs to something larger. It's one of the most beautiful things in Chinese civilization. The human being is not standing outside nature, he's inside it. He doesn't dominate the landscape, he disappears into it. There is wisdom here. Nature gave skill. It reminds human beings that our dreams are not the whole universe. Your breakup feels enormous. The mountain is unimpressed. Your career crisis feels ap- apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic. Apocalyptic. The river continues. Your political opinion very intense. The moon has seen dynasty die. This is why Chinese poetry can be so moving. A friend lives. The poet looked like the river. A dynasty collapses. The mountain still there. A man grew old. The autumn wind arrives. Human grief enter nature. Pain becomes scenery. Death becomes mist. But here is the question: is that redemption, or is that beautiful silence? Nature can calm the fear of death, but can answer the grave. A mountain can make you feel small, but it can't forgive you. A river can carry memory, but it can't resurrect. But it can resurrect the dead. A pine tree can teach endurance, but it can't tell you why your mother died. A moonlit landscape can console grief, but it can't judge evil. This is where Christianity and Chinese aesthetics feel very different. Christianity doesn't let death become scenery. Death is not merely part of natural cycle. Death is an enemy, a wound, a scandal, a problem requiring redemption. Chinese culture say, return to the horizon. Christianity say, even the horizon is broken. That's a huge difference. A civilization that absorbs death into nature can become very elegant, but it may become too quiet before the terror of death. You may write a poem when you need a resurrection. You may paint a mountain when it needs judgment. You may find peace when it still needs salvation. It's not an insult. It's a civilizational question. Can beauty answer tragedy, or does beauty sometimes make tragedy easier to await? The sage who explained the world. Because this is where the story becomes dangerous. In many religious traditions, the holy person is someone who kneels, the saint who kneels before God, the prophet listened to God, the sinner confessed before God, the monk renounced the world. But the Chinese sage does something different. He stands between heaven and humanity. He interprets order. He reads a pattern. He reads a pattern. He understands ritual. He teaches ruler. He organizes family. He explains society. He becomes a person through whom heaven, morality, politics, and human life are supposed to make sense. The sage is not merely spiritual, it's civilizational. He's a philosopher, moral teacher, political consultant, family therapist, ritual designer, educational expert, and elite exam coach trapped in one role. Very impressive and dangerous at dinner parties. The Chinese sage does not simply ask, how do I obey God? He asks, how should heaven, earth, ruler, father, son, family, education, morality, and politics all fit together? He's not just a good person, he becomes the meeting point between cosmos and society. A saint kneels before God, a sage explains the world, and once a person can explain the world, he becomes very hard to humble. Because what can you say to him? Maybe you're wrong, he replies. Actually, heaven, earth, history, morality, ritual, and my beers all disagree. The sage is beautiful when he teaches humility, but he becomes dangerous when he becomes a substitute for humility. Because if there is no absolute God above the sage, then the sage may become the highest interpreter of heaven. He doesn't need to be a tyrant. He only needs to believe that his moral intelligence is large enough to contain the world. That's where spiritual confidence becomes intellectual pride, and intellectual pride becomes political danger. From sage to scholar to exam culture. This helps explain why the Chinese scholar becomes so important. He was not just someone who read books. He was supposed to understand the order of civilization. He carried the classics, interpreted morality, served the state, taught family, advised ruler. He entered bureaucracy through examination. He became a bridge between heaven, text, say, state, and society. This is why Chinese education was never just education. It's salvation by examination, not salvation in the Christian sense, not the blood of Christ, not grace. No resurrection, but a social salvation, a family salvation, a moral salvation, a way to transform a person into someone who matters. The exam hall became a kind of secular temple. The scholar did not seek a job. He sought legitimacy. He sought status. He sought proof that he had entered the moral order. This is why Chinese culture can make education feel so sacred and terrifying. A child is not studying, he's carrying family destiny. He repaying parental sacrifice. He's trying to become somebody. He's trying to rise from the ordinary life into recognized order. This is why failure hurts so deeply. It's not just a bad degree. It's not just bad grade. You feel like metaphysical unemployment. You're not simply unemployed. You're cosmically unproved. Dramatic and very Chinese, very familiar to anyone who has ever had Asian parents. The three Chinese, let me see. The three Chinese selves. We understand three powerful forms of the self inside the tradition. First, the ideal person. This is a person who wants to build moral perfection, a perfect self, society, a harmonious world, a great unity, a kind of earthly paradise. It's noble, but it can become dangerous. Because once human beings believe they can build heaven on earth, they may become very impatient with actual humans. Actual humans are messy, they complain, they disagree, they sin, they fail, they eat too much, they don't feed utopia. So utopia often begins with love for humanity and ends with disappointment in people. The ideal person wants harmony so badly that conflict becomes an insult. Second, the big person. In Chinese, words like 大人 historically carry the sense of someone elevated, powerful, superior, socially above others. The big person is the self who wants to rise, to be recognized, respected, become important, to stand above ordinary life. Every civilization produces big people. America has billionaires who dress casually to prove that they are above dressing formally. Europe has intellectuals who can make you feel uncivilized for using the wrong fork. China has officials, scholars, bosses, elders, and people who make hierarchy feel like moral weather. The big person doesn't merely want money, he wants ontological height. Ontological height. He wants to be more real than others. He wants the world to look up. Third, the special person. This is a self that say we're different. Our civilization is special. Our rules are different. Past different. Standard different. You outsider can't understand. This can be true in limited sense. Every culture is different. Context matter, history matter, and the specialness become a show, a way to avoid comparison, a way to protect pride, a way to refuse universal question. When challenged, the special person say, "You can't judge us. We are unique." Again, not only China, American have American exceptionalism. The French have French universalism, which is basically exceptionalism wearing better perfume. The British have imperial nostalgia with tea. Silicon Valley has technological salvationism with hoodies. Every civilization has its own special person. China gave this impulse a very old language, so the Chinese self moves between these three dreams. I'll become ideal, big. I will remain special. The ideal person seeks perfection. The big person seeks elevation. The special person seeks immunity. Modern wellness is also a mirror. Let's bring this back to modern West, because this is not only China. Modern Western people may no longer believe in heaven in a traditional sense. They absolutely want sacredness. They say I trust the universe. I'm manifesting. I'm aligned. I'm healing. I'm becoming my highest self. I'm protecting my energy. I'm on my journey. Sounds very different from Asian Chinese cosmology, but emotionally similar. People want meaning without dogma, comfort without authority, healing without judgment, sacredness without obedience. A universe that supports them like a therapist but never confronts them like a judge. Basically, they want God but with better customer service. This is why modern spirituality is often a mirror. The universe told me that I'm special. I should leave my job. Universe told me my ex was toxic. Your universe told me I should buy linen parts and move to Portugal.
Portugal.
Amazing how often the universe agree with lifestyle branding. It's not always fake. People really do need healing, nature, meaning beyond materialism. But when the secret becomes only my truth and the secret loses the power to correct me, it becomes a mirror. A mirror can't save you from yourself. It can only make you look spiritual while you continue doing exactly what you wanted anyway. This is why Tianren Heyi is not strange to you. It's Asian but modern. The West may have lost God, but it did not lose the desire of heaven. It simply turned heaven into energy, identity, therapy, lifestyle, and personal destiny. Heaven became mood, vibe, and content. The question of death returns. No civilization can await death forever. Modern wellness can decorate life, reduce stress, improve sleep, sell your meditation app with modern logo, but death remains. Chinese aesthetics can absorb death into landscape. Modern wellness can soften death into acceptance. Stoicism can tell you death is nature.
Stoicism.
Stoicism can teach you that is nature. Buddhism tell you all things are impermanent. Taoism tell you how to flow with transformation. The question remains, is death merely nature or is death also wrong? Is grief only something to accept or is grief also protest? When someone who loves dies, we not only say, yet impermanence, this should not be. We say this person matters, this law matters, this law is not just a seasonal change. This is why Christianity speaks so powerfully to death. It doesn't merely smooth grave, it fights death, calls death an enemy, promises resurrection. It sees the grave is not just part of the scenery. It's radically different from a spirituality of harmony. Harmony say return to the whole. Christianity say the whole itself needs redemption. Difference is enormous. This is one reason Christianity created such attention when it entered China. It brought a God who stood above heaven, ancestor, ritual family, and cosmic order. It brought a final judge who could not be fully absorbed into harmony. Because a civilization built on harmony doesn't easily welcome a God who interrupts. What China gave the world. I don't want to turn this into a simple argument. China bad, West good. Also, historically ridiculous. The West has produced its own nightmare. Colonialism, racism, world wars, technocrat control, market worship, lonely individualism. People seek self-care while emotionally destroying everyone around them. Every civilization has a shadow. China's gift is real. China reminds the modern world that the individual is not enough. You are not just a private will. You are relational, embodied. You're historical. You're shaped by family, memory, language, landscape, and time. You belong to patterns larger than yourself. A human being is not a floating opening with Wi-Fi. This is wisdom. The modern Western need this. It need less ego, less fragmentation, less nonetheless disguised as freedom, less consumer choice pretending to be meaning, less my truth replacing truth. Tianren Heyi can teach modern people humility before nature, attention to reason, reverence for relational life, a sense that the world is not merely raw material for human desire. But China also needs to be questioned because belonging can become suffocation, harmony can become silence, order can become control, sage can become arrogant, family can become political, the state can become sacred, nature can come for this without answering, heaven can become a mirror. So the goal is not to reject the wisdom. The goal is to ask what kind of oneness preserves humility, what kind of harmony allows truth. What kind of civilization remembers that the human being belongs to the whole, but is not owned by the whole? The final turn. The deepest danger is not humans feel small. Feeling small can be healthy. Stand under the night sky. Look at mountains, read history, spend 5 minutes in an immigration office. You will feel small very quickly. The real danger is the opposite. It's when human beings forget they're small. When they call that forgetting harmony, when a scholar believes he can explain heaven completely, when a ruler believes his power reflects cosmic order, when a family believes its pressure is love, when a modern person believes the universe always supports their personal desires, when a civilization looks into heaven and sees only itself. That's when heaven becomes a mirror. A mirror is dangerous because it doesn't argue. It simply reflects beautifully, silently, flatteringly. A mirror will never say you're not God. It will say you need forgiveness. You never say your harmony is hiding someone's pain. You will never say your civilization is not the center of reality. Only something outside the mirror can say that. Only something higher than us can humble us. Only something not made by us can save us from ourselves. So, distance matters. Tianren Heyi is one of the most beautiful dreams of Chinese civilization. The dream that human being can live inside meaningful cosmos. Life can be harmonized. Nature, body, morality, heaven, politics come form one great order. The dream gave Chinese poetry, landscaping, painting, ritual, moral seriousness, civilizational continuity, a sense that human life belongs to something larger. But it left China a dangerous question. What if harmony awaits truth? What if nature comforts this but can't answer it? What if heaven becomes political? What if family becomes sacred pressure? What if human become one with heaven and forgot they're human? The most dangerous spiritual idea is not that humans are small. It's human forget they're small and call that harmony. Let me check. Yeah, that's all for this episode. It's a lot of content. I hope you can like it, and I hope you can leave some comments, give me some advice, some feedback to me so that I can improve myself. Thank you so much.